tell me about this guy, Kortopi. Hey, Shizuku. They've met her.
知らんぷり。
そうだ。あいつならゴンを気に入ってるから、なんとかしてくれるかも。
Of course.
しまった。
That's right.
あの時の女。
なんだ
Killua's reaction.
全然。
ああ、思い出した。
There you go,
腕
Phaeton.
相撲してた子供ね。
That's the
な
one.
んだっけそれ。
お前、おとといあの子供と腕相撲して負けただろ。
She's so forgetful.
私が嘘だよ。いくら私でも子供には負けないよ。
その時お前右手でやって。
なんで？私左利きだよ。
Is she actually forgetful or is she just kind of...
一度忘れたこと二度と思い出
Okay,
さないね。
that answers it.
いや、それの勘違いだ。
Franklin.
でしょ？
Is that a cookbook?
おめえ雫とやって勝ったのか。
Oh no.
まさか旅団の人だとは思わなかったけど。
よし、俺と勝負だ。
Yeah.
もう一度。
Ugh. The boxer guy. Oof.
Go.
Is this a test? Is this...
もう一
a test of resilience or...
度。レディー。ゴー。俺は雲の中で腕相撲何番目に強えか。
Huh. Of course, they have their own
7、
ranks.
8番ってとこじゃねえか。
弱くもないけど強くもないよね。
てよ、一番強いのがウボウギンって男だったんだが、こいつが鎖野郎にやられたらしくてな。
だからそんなやつ知らないって言ってるだろ。
ガキ、次に許可なく喋ったら
Oh.
ぶっ殺すぞ。
Yeah, he means it. Killua
も
knows.
う一度。
Kortopi.
レディー。
I'm sure that's a special little dude.
やつは強化系でな。
There's a sword.
竹を割ったようなガチンコ好きの単細胞だ。
Kind of like...
時間にうるさくてよ。よく遅刻が原因で俺やフランクリンと喧嘩になったが。
Yeah, he was annoyed about his
俺
Soka
は
showing
素
up
の
late,
殴り合い
right?
じゃボコられっぱなしだった。旅団設立前からの付き合いだ。
Whoa.
誰よりも知ってる。ウボが
Oh.
戦って負けるわけがねえ。
Yeah.
金を罠にかけられたに決まってる。
Look at this.
絶対に許さねえ。
He was being a little bit emotional about
殺
his...
してでも探し出す。鎖野郎は俺たちに強い恨みを持っている。最近マフィアのノストラドファミリーに雇われた人物だ。
旅団に恨み。最近雇われた。
They know about that part for sure.
直接知らなくても噂で聞いたりしてねえか。
I think Killua just clocked it, right?
思い出せ。
知らないね。たとえ知っていても、お前らなんかに教えるもんか。
This is the Gon I
涙
know.
もない連中だと思ってたけど、仲間のために泣けるんだね。
Hmm. Ooh. Ooh.
だったらその気持ちをほんの少しでいいからお前らが殺した人たちになんで分けてやれなかったんだ。
He's not one for hypocrisy, is he? Gon. But that's interesting as well, though. Let's put a pin in that.
お前、調子乗りすぎね。
Oh, great shot. Stay there. Oh, yes.
切る
He'll do it too.
言っただろう。お前らに教えることなんか一つもない。
フェイタ、お前がやろうとしてることだ。
私がやること。
Oh,
お前わ
God.
かるのか。
腕へし折る気だろ。
はじめは指ね。
どこでもいい。とにかくやめろ。
なぜ命令するか。従う必要ない、ね。
Oh, boy. Shalnark, maybe step in?
団員同士のマジギレご法度だよ。
Yeah, they mentioned that before, right?
揉めたらコインだろう。
The damn coin, huh?
裏。
Last time it was tails, right? This has got to be heads then.
表だ。話してやれ。知らねえなら解放してやればいいさ。どうだ、パクノだ。
来る途中調べてみた。
Ah, she does have
二
some.
人とも本当に心
Look at the framing here.
彼らに鎖野郎の記憶はないわ
They。have no memories.
珍しく外れたな、お前の勘。
No, no, no,
おかしいね。
she's right about it.
白野田が言うなら間違いないだろうけど。
Nobunaga seems to have taken an interest
こ
in
こに来
Gon.
るとき何かされたか。
質問されただけだよ。
だよな。俺
She was able to access their memories,
調
eh?
べたってことか。何をどうやって。奴らの様子からして白野だって女の調査
Yeah,
は
yeah, yeah.
かなり信頼されている。勘以上の説得力を持った方法。
彼らに鎖野郎の記憶はないわ。
記憶。
あんたどう？心当たりない？
記
It is the
憶を探
touch,
る
isn't
能
it?
力。対象者に触れることで
That is some ability, isn't
だ
it?
とすると合点がいく。
Ignorance is bliss.
確かにあの時点では鎖野郎に心当た
Yeah,
りなんてなかっ
okay,
た。
he's clocked it now.
でも今は連想してしまって
But
い
he
る。
still hasn't actually seen Kurapika in that
もう
state,
一度
though, so
調べられたら。
いや関係ないとは言い切れない。後ろで糸を引いている奴がいるはずだ。
黒幕がいたとしても、そいつは鎖野郎じゃないよ。彼は単独で行動しているはずだから。俺たちの標的は鎖野郎だけだ。それ以外は放っておけばいい。
look at Shalnart.
だそうだ。
いや、ダメだ。
Ooh,
そいつは返さねえ。ボードだ。
yeah, he's taking an interest
雲
in
に
it.
入れよ。
Oh,
俺と組もうぜ。
やだ。お前らの
does
仲間
does he
にな
remind
る
him of
く
a
らい
young Uvo?
死んだ方がマシだ。
随分
To
嫌
laugh.
われたな。お前、強化系だろ。
だったらなんだ。
やっぱりそうだよ。
It does. It reminds him of a. It kind of reminds him of Uvo, doesn't it?
入団を推薦する。
本気かよ。
団長が認めるはずないね。
逃げても私らは知らないよ。
Okay then, man. I really like Nobunaga. I do. I mean, I like all of them, to be
似
honest.
てるウボウとあの子が。
ああ、感情丸
But this time it's Franklin.
怒ると後先考えなくなるところ。
Spot on. Spot on
何より
about
そっくり
Gon.
なのが他人事で一番力を発揮するとこか。あいつは一対一で戦うことを好んだが、
Look at
一番
this.
強いのは信長と組んで大勢と戦う時
はあ
だったからな。ウボウは認めなかったが、守るもんがあった方があいつにとってはいいんだ。喧嘩のたびに二人は組まされてぶうたれてたが、まんざらでもなさそうだった。
はい。思い出話はそこまで。こっから本題だ。引き続きペアで行動し、リストの人物探しに全力を挙げてくれ。
This could be interesting.
じゃ、午後10時にここに集合ってことで。以上。
Look at this. Acting boss, acting leader. There's a lot of respect for him.
誰か余ったやつと組みなよ。
I know who's left. That smile. Cheeky. So cheeky.
甘かった。俺があの場面で動いたら密かはためらわず俺を殺す気だった。あのさっき動けなかった。
Yeah.
もしゴンがあそこで致命傷を負わされかけたら、
It paralyzed him.
そしたら俺は動けたかな。
できないね。お前は人というものを殺せるか殺せないかでしか判断できない。
God damn it, Lumi, man.
違う。
He's always
勝ち
lingering.
目のない敵とは戦うな。俺
Yeah.
が口を酸っぱくして教えた
I
よね。
drill that into you.
違う。
Wow. Illumi's done a number on Killua. Wow.
おっかねえな。
Beautiful shot.
先に言っとくが、俺の間合いに入ったら切るぜ。
Ooh. Look at this. It's scabbing over now. God damn, man. Illumi's done a number on this kid.
レオリオの方は大丈夫かな。
俺がおとりになる。その隙にお前だけでも逃げろ。
まったくだ。やめとけ。敵の力量がわからねえほど未熟でもあるね。
He is. He knows.
好きなんか作らねえよ。
分かってるよ。
Yeah.
そんなこと。そこに踏み込めば致命傷は確実。だからこそ意味があるんだ。
無理だね、お前に。
Ah, Illumi.
うるせえよ。
He's really on his mind right now.
分かんね
Yeah.
えだろ。
He's trying to push it to see. Go
あ
on.
いつの人たちは
Explain.
俺が死んでも止めるから。その間に逃げろっつってんだよ。
あ
何しやがんだってめえ。 勝手なこと言うな。死ぬとか簡単に言うなって言ってんだ。だとおめえだって
Yeah, funny coming for him, right?
俺はいいんだ。でもキルアはダメだ。はあ
I love that laugh.
強化系には理屈が通用し
Spot
ね
on.
えんだよな。
人の気も知らないで勝手なこと言ってんのはどっちだよ。ああ死んないねバカだもん。
He really likes
や
them.
っぱりおめえら
Yeah.
面白いわ。俺が抜けばお前らは死ぬ。
I believe him. I believe him.
ああ思い出
Those
した
reactions
横
though.
抜きだよ
So
横
cute.
抜きもう一つが横抜き
Gone?
思い出したああ思い出した思い出した
Okay, he's cooking something up here.
こんな簡単なことに気づかなかったなんて
バカが。
Ah, you go this way, I go that way. Yeah, yeah.
出口が塞がれてるな
Pick your own, yeah.
別のところから出ればい
He
い
punched it earlier, right? And it damaged quite a bit.
これでこっちから追い込めば袋のネズミだ。バカか俺は。奴らは壁をぶち抜いて逃げられるんだ。どこだ。
They've got him all jumbled up,
壁
don't
は
they?
壊れてねえし、気配が消えた。
Ooh.
絶か。天と蓮の高等応用技。
Look at this.
円。
And
通常は体の周囲数ミリから数センチの間隔でまとっているオーラを自分の必要な間隔まで広げる。
okay.
この円の
New
中に
mechanics.
潜む視覚はおろか、舞い落ちる木の葉の数さえ把握できる。
I like it. I like it.
いつでも来い。
I don't think they're coming. Ah.
バカチェあいつぶっ飛ばしたかったのに返り討ちにあってあの領域 100%
This is the best idea.
念
Oh, I
の
love the
知らない
lighting there.
俺たちの叶う相手じゃないねなんだよやっとキルアらしくなったじゃん
True,
無
he
茶を
does.
言うのは俺の役キルアはそれをクールに止めてくれなくちゃ
That's a
頼り
dynamic.
にしてるんだから勝手なやつけどそのためには
Yeah.
念能力の
You'll
向
have to
上が必須
improve
だ
quite
ぜ
a bit, actually.
奴らと対等に渡り合えるだけの潜在能力
Great shot.
念にはあるはずなんだクラピカに聞くのが一番手っ取り早いんだけどなえなんであいつらの仲間を倒したっていう鎖野郎がクラピカだからさえ俺たちの資質にあった俺たちだけの能力
Hmm.
でも
Hatsu.
それ以上に旅団と同等以上に戦える能力が必要だその答えの鍵を握ってるのがクラピカってことかああ
Ah, back to the city. Great little
その
episode.
頃ヨークシンの中心部では新たな嵐が巻き起ころうとしていた。
Okay, so that's episode 50 of Hunter x Hunter. I mean, first of all, incredible feeling. Incredible feeling, of course, to kind of hit this milestone. And you know, the thing is, maybe in my mind, I kind of overhyped it, right? Or I hyped it a bit too much, right? Just because of the fact that it is episode 50. So I kind of just assumed that it's about to be some sort of a bookmark type episode, right? For for the entire run of the series, essentially. I thought it could be one of those types of episodes. Now, before I go any further, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic episode nonetheless, right? It is actually a really, really damn good episode, right? The focus of this episode is just, right up my alley at the end of the day. But, going into the episode and again, signing off in my last episode's discussion, I just kind of assumed that, since it is episode 50, it's about to be something really quite, I don't know, memorable, right? In the grand scheme of things, perhaps. My initial thought was that now that, they've actually set up the leader of the Phantom Troupe, Crollo, being out there solo on his own, I thought maybe, a major focus of this episode might have been him, right? Maybe half of this episode could have been, or might have been, again, the Phantom Troupe and Gon and Killua angle, and then maybe the other half might have been Crollo, right? That was kind of my thinking going into it. But, it just turns out to be a complete focus on the inner dynamics of the Phantom Troupe. And I just ate that up. I just enjoyed that so much. As you know, and as I've stated so many times at this point, I just love the Phantom Troupe. So to get a focus, right? This type of focus on just the Phantom Troupe and Gon and Killua as well, right? Kind of in the middle of those inner dynamics of the Phantom Troupe. It's just, I don't know, it's a knockout of an episode, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, it actually is quite a fantastic episode 50. And again, even though it is quite the focus on the inner dynamics of the Phantom Troupe, there's still a handful of the members that I don't know about much, right? Or not even a handful, maybe one or two even, right? Troupe and the bandaged up boxer. Those two, they just, they're always kind of in the background, right? They're more than okay with just kind of hanging back, right? Not all of the members feel the need to always kind of step in, give their unique perspective. And you get a lot of diversity in that sense in this episode, right? In terms of unique perspectives, right? It's full of them, really quite full of them. You really kind of get to see once again how nuanced this, this group of characters is together, right? It humanizes them once again, right? Or at least specific members of the group, but also kind of indicating that, of course, other members of the group are just as capable of this type of, this type of emotion, that they are capable of grief, right? Now, it's been clear to us, the audience, for some time now, this is not a stereotypical, group of antagonists, right? It was clear really early on that, okay, this is something really quite unique. These are going to be characters that a lot of us are really going to like, right? And again, this episode kind of takes it a step further as you get to see Nobunaga's trauma processing, right? He's really hit hard by the potential loss. I see a potential, but I think even someone like Nobunaga is now accepting that, he's gone. He would have been back by now. And, a lot of his behavior or his stance or his perspective on the situation from the last episode, it really kind of makes a lot of sense again, doesn't it? And, I was kind of on the right track, I think, in terms of, his thoughts, his perspective being a bit more emotional in comparison to Machi, who's just keeping it really, really quite textbook, right? Applying, again, past behaviors and all of that, right? There you could see, right? Machi, she doesn't have any, stakes in the matter in the sense that she's not really that, really that concerned about Uvo actually coming back, right? She's almost indifferent at the end of the day. But, to Nobunaga, it's a bit of a different thing. There it's all about, that hope. He's always hoping that, okay, he might be held up. He said he's only going to come back once he's kind of, settled this. So again, it really kind of adds up in this episode, as they make it clear that, Nobunaga has actually known Uvogin before even the Phantom Troupe is assembled. So am I to kind of assume that they actually came as a duo and, that Crollo might have recruited both of them at the same time, perhaps? That's actually an interesting point about the Phantom Troupe here, in terms of them coming together. Was it actually Crollo just by himself, and then, one by one or a few members at a time, he recruited them? Or, he actually knew a bunch of them already, and then they kind of, decided to form this, right? Crollo decided to kind of form a group, and then, of course, they added more members as time passes. And as they, kind of come across people that are worthy of joining the Phantom Troupe, right, in their eyes. Again, as always, any potential backstory is going to be really quite fascinating. I'm really quite excited for that. Again, they've given us hints of it, little, things here and there in terms of the origins of the Phantom Troupe, or a lot of the members of the Phantom Troupe, Meteor City. But yeah, going back to my initial point before I forget again, Troupe and the boxing guy, right? The bandaged up boxing guy, I'm sure that they're actually really quite special, right? The fact that they're always in the background, they never speak, they never share any thoughts. I just get the feeling, and it just feels like it's one of those situations, right? Once they do speak, or once they do show the things that they can do, the things that they are capable of, it's going to be one of those jaw-dropper moments, isn't it? Right? That's the feeling I'm getting from this. So I'm sure that Troupe and the bandaged up, boxer guy are going to get their time to shine at some point. But in terms of members that do get to shine, you've got Pakunara, who continues to shine essentially from the last episode, right? Because now, after kind of really strongly hinting at some of her abilities, now you have confirmation here that indeed it is the physical touch that is kind of, making sure. She tells Machi in the last episode, do you want me to make sure, right? Something along those lines, right? Or I can make sure. And again, the camera kind of pans up from her hand, and then in the scene a little bit later on, she's got her hand around Killua. So ultimately, yes, it is contact. It's physical contact that helps her make sure, right? But yeah, it's confirmed that indeed she's got the ability to access people's memories. Now that is fascinating. It's really quite fascinating. And, almost immediately, I'm not able to even kind of gauge the Nen category this kind of falls under. Hell, it's entirely possible that I'm looking at yet another specialist, because this ability feels really quite special. It doesn't feel like, I don't know, it just feels kind of really out there. Just like on Neon or Neon's, premonitions or fortune telling abilities. They kind of feel really quite detached from anything else, right? Now, of course, I also had the confirmation from the silhouette as well, right? Of Neon's silhouette alongside Chrollo's silhouette. But here in Pakunara's really unique ability, I might have yet another specialist. And the ability itself, it's fascinating because, of course, first of all, to gain access to people's memories, that's just insane, right? But let's kind of look at the mechanics of it. Surely it's got to be, based on a specific inquiry, right? In this case, the chain user, because otherwise she would have seen the encounters that Gon and Killua had with one of their own Phantom Troupe members, Hisoka, right? Now, ultimately, if that was to get out, is it really going to be that big of a deal? I don't know. Hisoka seems to think so. And, there's a bit of a really fun moment really early on. Killua certainly understood the assignment right in the beginning as it kind of locked eyes. But of course, Gon kind of slips almost immediately. And I absolutely love those reactions that these two have. Right, Killua has his own take on it, right? I've heard it twice, right? The last time I heard it, or the first time I heard it, it was back at the Zoldyck estate, right? Kukuru Mountain, right? It's as he comes in, he sees Gon, but then he also sees Kurapika and Leorio. He's got that really cute reaction to them, right? And he gets Leorio's name wrong. And then, same thing happened here because, luckily for both of them, Shizuku is right there. She's sitting like right beside Hisoka as well, right? So they're able to pivot, or at least Killua is able to pivot after Gon almost just gives it all up, right? Again, his reaction is really quite funny as well, Hisoka sweating, you see that bead of sweat on his cheek. But yeah, Shizuku, the thing is, Shizuku does not remember this encounter, right? Gon and Killua remember, Phaeton and Franklin remember. Both Phaeton and Franklin kind of confirm that she's quite forgetful. And, you're just better off giving up on trying to explain things or trying to remind her of things that have happened. But, again, I have to ask the question, is it as simple as that? Is it as simple as just a quirk, a character quirk? Or there's something else to it in terms of, memory loss or her memory being affected, for other reasons, possibly because of her ability. But even that in itself, right? Shizuku, Phaeton, and Franklin, just those three, that exchange is so much fun. It really is. Like I said, it's a fantastic look at the inner dynamics of the Phantom Troupe, right? And it's not all serious, there's a lot of just banter, a lot of fun stuff, in addition to a lot of the serious stuff as well. But, once again, kind of going back to the last episode and, Machi and Nobunaga and their disagreement that had to be kind of, figured out over a coin toss, that whole thing about, I think that the boss wants to recruit this person, this chain user. And Nobunaga was just adamant that no, you can't make me, you're free to think or interpret the boss's orders as you want to, but you can't force me to accept your take, your understanding of it. of those orders, right? He was dead set on kind of, maintaining the unspoken rule, bring them back alive or dead. So now, knowing the things that I know in this episode, Nobunaga most definitely, if they happen to come across the chain user in that episode, he most definitely would have gone for the kill, right? As he essentially kind of commits to in this episode, right? In one of the standout moments of the series for Gon's character arc as well, I think this specific scene, the arm wrestling scene, or Gon's reaction after a certain point, right? After seeing Nobunaga's reaction, after seeing that Nobunaga is capable of grief. I'll get into all of that. I kind of want to focus on that in detail. Nobunaga is dead set on vengeance for his fallen comrade, for his fallen friend. I mean, as I am on the topic, let's just kind of stay on it. Gon's reaction to Nobunaga's emotional reaction. And then, of course, Nobunaga's emotional reaction to all of this, kind of reminiscing about Uvogin and the times they've had together and, just how long he's known him for, and that he's the one person that knows him inside and out, the one person that knows him the most. Surely it must have been some kind of dirty trick that he got caught up in, right? Now, it's a matter of perspective. Yes, he kind of did fall for a trap, or I think he said trap, a dirty trap. I mean, he fell into, Kropika's trap. But again, in terms of it being a dirty trap, it's a matter of perspective. Of course, from Uvo's perspective, or, from Nobunaga's perspective, Kropika's trap, his conjured chains. But from Kropika's perspective, that's not the case at all, is it? But again, this is such a unique situation, right? And it's a situation that really has gone, first of all, yes, agitated, really quite agitated. He's fuming. It feels like it did a bit of a number on him at that moment, right? And he kind of snaps. And again, as Franklin kind of brings up a little bit later, right, the similarities between Gon and Uvogin, at points they tend to kind of overlook consequences, right? The idea of consequences is not really present anymore once they're dialed in, right? And I thought it was interesting that, it wasn't even Nobunaga anymore that saw the similarities, right? He didn't have to say much. Us, the audience, could just kind of infer, right? Based on the fantastic, visual storytelling of this, and the visual animation, or the way his expressions are drawn, the way, it's kind of looking at Gon from his perspective, right? You could tell that everything that's kind of happened here, and even Gon's outburst, right? Everything there kind of reminded him of Uvo. But then, of course, later you have someone like Franklin, who also thought that, this kid he does remind me of Uvo. He does. Now, in terms of Nobunaga's really emotional reaction, I think once again, it's really a matter of perspective as far as the audience goes. I'm sure there's many people that simply do not care, that simply cannot sympathize or empathize in that moment, given that he belongs to this group that is capable of just heinous things. Things such as the massacre of Kropika's people, right? Like it's nothing. Like it's absolutely nothing. So, I can completely understand if a lot of people don't care about, Nobunaga getting emotional, right? It's understandable. Again, it's a matter of perspective. But, to me, it really kind of humanizes them a bit more. But the thing is, even within a group that is kind of open to a lot of these types of things, there is that concept. There is that idea of friendship. There is that idea of bonds, right? And this dynamic that kind of forms over the years, right? Years spending time with each other, alongside each other, going through foundational moments, right? From a certain perspective, these are just evil people. But, on the inside, there is this sense of, long-term friendship and respect. But the really interesting thing here is that the fact that they are that nuanced, that there is nuance there, it's the reason, I think it's essentially the reason that Gon is so agitated. Because for Gon, it really, really kind of felt like, okay, it's a simple understanding of, okay, these are meant to be heartless monsters, To him, it was pretty clear. In his mind, he must have had a really clear picture. The types of people that belong to this group, the types of people that are capable of doing the things that they did to his friend's family, to his clan, right? That's another angle to this, right? Gon has his own horse in the race, right? He has Krapika, right? So, immediately, there is tribalism at play as well. That aspect is certainly present. That part of it is certainly there, that, these are the same people that did those things to my friend, right? Or to the loved ones of my friend, right? So him finding out that, okay, they are capable of this. They are capable of understanding pain, anguish that these other people are going through, that they are capable of understanding the pain that might be behind someone who does come out for vengeance. As Uvogan told us a few episodes ago, he told Krapika specifically, that's one of his favorite things to do, right? So, they've had plenty of those. So from Gon's perspective, the thing that really gets him here is that, okay, so they understand all of this. They are capable of understanding all of this, but they choose not to at all, right? It's kind of like, ultimately, he's just really, really annoyed at the hypocrisy of it all, right? Because now Nobunaga is about to go down the same path as his friend Krapika, right? But Nobunaga feels completely justified in it, right? Yet this chain user who has this grudge against the Phantom Troupe, right? He's got to be taken out, right? He's got to be found. So yeah, at that moment, it really felt like it's channeling our feelings through Gon, perhaps, or most of our feelings, perhaps, right? Listen, I wasn't as agitated as Gon about it, but, of course, I immediately saw the hypocrisy of it all. And, you see that Gon voices that as well. So he's essentially the audience surrogate at that moment, right? Kind of highlighting the clear hypocrisy of it all. But, the thing is, it's not that unrealistic. And it's realistic because hypocrisy itself is quite realistic in our lives, in real life, right? Of course, maybe not to that extreme end, right? In terms of the things that the members of the Phantom Troupe or Nobunaga in this specific case is capable of. So, in terms of a loose example, something that's coming to mind almost immediately is, I'm a football fan, big fan of football, soccer, football, take your pick. There's always players that the other teams absolutely hate, right? Just absolute dickheads, assholes, right? That they're always kind of they're just agitating the other team. It's the type of player that anyone else is going to hate. Any other team and any other team's fans are going to just absolutely hate. But if that player happens to be on your team, it's your bastard. He's on your side. He plays for you, right? He rocks your colors. He represents your team. He's a part of your team. That's a bit of a loose example, but, ultimately, I don't think it's unrealistic at all that, Nobunaga was able to get emotional over someone that is capable of, again, heinous things, capable of mass murder, massacre, yet that's still his friend, right? They have that bond. So yeah, it's a really interesting thing. But listen, Gon is really quite agitated. And again, I commend Gon for, kind of having the courage in that moment, though, it's not really much of a surprise that Gon is able to kind of step out and kind of, get his feelings out there. Again, not afraid of consequences. Hell, he's not even thinking about consequences. Again, as Franklin brings up in the next scene, I think the really fascinating thing here is that at some point, Gon actually might understand this. He might actually feel like he's on the other side of that argument, right? He might be in Nobunaga's shoes at some point. Because I feel like I have a decent grasp on Gon's character at this point. I mean, sure, there's still plenty of anime to get through, but, 50 episodes in, I certainly feel that at some point, Gon actually might find himself in a situation that might require him to overlook everything else in favor of his friends, in favor of someone he cares for, right? Much like Nobunaga and Uvo in this situation. I mean, essentially, at this point, I certainly believe that Gon himself is also capable of this type of hypocrisy at some point. I mean, in the same episode, you get to see just how important someone like Killua is to Gon, right? So incredibly important. I mean, I think I said this a long time ago, early days of the anime, but, it truly felt like the beginning of an incredible friendship. Yeah, 50 episodes in, this is special. I mean, this is as special as it gets on both ends, Killua's end and Gon's end. And I'll get to Killua because, Killua goes through something really quite interesting once again. They kind of bring this in every now and then. His struggle, his internal struggle with with Illumi, right? Again, I'll get to that. There's at this point, I think I have enough, or there's even more evidence here that indeed Illumi does have some level of influence over Killua. Now it really truly feels like this residual lesson almost that's been hammered into him. Their terminology is that I've drilled it into you, right? But it almost immediately shows up in these moments. It's that effective of a lesson, right? Again, more on that later. I kind of say lesson loosely. Actually, it is a lesson, but I think there's more to that lesson. But yeah, at the end of the day, Nobunaga was impressed, and it really reminded him of Uvo, right? And for that reason, he almost immediately put that offer out there, right? Come join me, join the spiders, right? But more than that, be my teammate, or join me, or pair up with me. I believe that was a line of dialogue here, right? It's not that he just wants him to join the troop. He wants him to be his new partner. It's almost as if he's got this chance to almost immediately fill that new hole that's been left. The enhancer-shaped hole, if you will, right? But of course, Gon has no interest in that, especially because, the history that they do have with Kurapika. But even though us, the audience, knows that Gon's not going to be joining the Phantom Troop, right, and that he is going to decline the offer immediately, it's still something interesting to think about, right? If he didn't come across Kurapika, if they didn't become friends, Gon in the Phantom Troop, it could have happened. I think he is someone that may have joined the Phantom Troop, actually, right? Especially if, that would have given him a chance at a copy of Great Island. But the fact that one of the main characters of the anime, of the story, actually got the offer to join up, though of course I'm sure, Nobunaga can't really truly, get him to join or give him the permission to join, even if he was open to it. At the end of the day, it's Chrollo's call, right? But of course, if Nobunaga feels strongly about it, I'm sure Chrollo would have actually really thought about it, right? I'm sure Chrollo would have been quite fascinated with Gon as well, actually. But the point being, the fact that the offer is made, it kind of makes me think about the future of the series, right? Long term, right? First of all, it all depends on how long the Phantom Troop is going to be around for. Is it going to be this component of the story that is going to come and go throughout the anime, right up until the ending of the anime? Or, is there an end point at some point in this story, in the 148 episodes? Could this offer be made to anyone else? Right? It's a big group, isn't it? It is. And, there could be a lot of benefits to joining the Phantom Troop, right? There's a really interesting moment as, Shizuku is sitting there, right? And, Gon and Killua, or Killua specifically, said something like, oh, I never would have thought that she could have been a troop member. Look at that. So I think the idea of new and interesting and unexpected members of the Phantom Troop popping up at some point, or joining up at some point rather, I think that could be really quite interesting. So I hope the Phantom Troop is a part of the story in the long term. But let's shift the focus back to Killua and his internal struggle. This right here is one of the most fascinating components of the story and of any character arc so far, right? And this is a legitimate struggle for Killua. Throughout this segment, until he finally, kind of experiences some clarity through the help of Gon, his close friend at that moment. And how clutch is Gon in that moment, right? He sees that Killua is struggling a bit, and he understands that, he has to be the one who has to kind of step up here. And, it's nothing new. I've seen Gon have these clutch moments. Hell, the actual plan itself, the side stomping or the sidestepping, ultimately he was kind of doing it on purpose, right? He knew it's sidestepping, but he presented it as side stomping at first. Something really similar happened back in Trick Tower, right? The last phase of it, Gon figured out that they can just make their own entrance or exit. But yeah, in terms of Killua's internal struggle, right, at the center of it, it's Gon. Right, the conundrum, the issue that he's contemplating here is, if Gon had suffered a fatal blow, could he actually do something? Could he actually move? And of course, almost immediately, like clockwork, you have Illumi kind of take all over Killua's headspace, right? This is like I said a little bit earlier. Now it's beginning to really truly feel like something a bit more than just lessons that he got in during his training. During his assassin training. Now, listen, before I go any further, because I have quite a bit to say here about this programming, right? This residual programming, even. I think at the base of it all, I think Illumi is really quite strange and intriguing for that reason, to me at least. Illumi is his big brother. I truly feel that, this again, the only thing I can really truly call it at the moment is this residual internal programming that just kind of takes over in these really specific situations. I do believe that, ultimately it is to protect Killua. And this is why this message has been drilled into him, hammered into him. And the thing is, it always specifies as him, I've drilled it into you, right? So it's almost as if he took that initiative, right? Listen, I've always believed that, the Zoldycks, even as strange as they are, they are a family nonetheless, right? And they care about each other. They do, right? It might be a little bit strange how they show love, but they care about each other. So yeah, let's put that up front before I go any further. But here you see once again, the thing that bothers Killua so much is that, he really struggles to go against these instincts. He tries, he really steps up to the line, right? He steps to the edge almost at this point in an attempt to bypass this programming of sorts. In this episode, you really get to see him try to break free of this hypnotic coaching, right? Kind of go against these instincts. And it bothers him so much because for some time now, right, since Gon has come into his life, it bothers him because it's in direct competition with the urge to protect Gon, to save Gon. And this urge or impulse, right, to always kind of save and protect Gon, it's something that was almost immediately dismissed by Illumi back in the Hunter exam, in the final phase of the Hunter exam. And you see that once again, this internal tug of war kind of leaves them in a state of limbo. It leaves them with choice paralysis. But let's kind of focus on this almost residual programming that kicks in, right? See, I kind of brought this up a few episodes ago around the time, they show Sharlark's manipulating abilities. Now that I've seen a few different manipulators in the field doing their thing, I'm really truly beginning to think that indeed Illumi is able to exert some level of influence over Killua and has done for years at this point. But by the end of this episode, now I really truly feel that, yeah, this has to be a bit more than, just a firm lesson, even in its visual presentation, right? It's just a bit too much to ignore at this point. I mean, first of all, the art direction, and again, the visual storytelling on display in those moments is just fantastic, right? How Illumi just completely takes over. So at this point, I firmly believe that indeed Illumi's manipulator abilities or his manipulator Nen category is certainly at play here, right? That Nen is at play here, right? And see, that's the thing. That was the unknown. Up until recently, that was the unknown, right? And it was something that really, really scared Killua. One of the only things that scared Killua and put him in that state, right? Because it was the unknown. He just didn't know the reason for it. And I think that reason is Nen. And if that is the case, and I am on the right track, then it feels like Illumi's application of his manipulator abilities, his manipulation Nen technique, perhaps, it's directly linked to this. That's why it feels like it almost kicks in like clockwork. Anytime Killua finds himself in this type of situation, faced against someone that he knows for sure is much tougher than him, someone he knows he cannot best, he cannot kill. That I feel that is part of the programming. And again, ultimately, like I said earlier, I believe it is to protect Killua, right? Because listen, they knew that Killua is a bit of a maverick, right? Or, Illumi knows this for sure. And of course, they knew that Killua is going to rebel at some point, that they're not going to be able to protect him, right? And Killua might feel that, oh, he could take on anyone, really. But, I feel like this programming, this manipulation tactic, perhaps, is in place to protect him, or has been in place to protect him. And to me, it feels like, you know, it's kind of like this failsafe in position, but, you know, I think he can maybe bypass that. Maybe he can outgrow that, right? As one of the main aspects of the ending of this episode is them almost immediately understanding, or Killua understanding and, you know, telling Gon that they have to train, they have to improve, they have to just get to the next level. Right now, they are completely unmatched. And, you know, they believe, or Killua believes that, you know, the first step is going to Killua. Sorry, not to Killua, to Kurapika, because now he knows that Kurapika actually took out one of the Phantom Troupe members. And he's also heard that Uvo is one of the strongest and formidable members of the Phantom Troupe. And one of their friends was able to take him out. So, you know, Killua right now probably has so many questions for Kurapika, and he probably has this newfound respect as well for Kurapika. Right? Again, you know, he's not the closest with Leorio and Kurapika, but now, you know, he's certainly taken an interest in Kurapika. So, you know, a potential reunion is on the horizon, hopefully. But going back to my point about him potentially outgrowing this programming of his, yeah, you know, I think it is possible. Once he gets to that point, right, that he is or could be maybe on a similar playing field as a Phantom Troupe member, that he can go toe-to-toe, he can go one-on-one. Maybe at that point, he'll just be able to bypass it anyways. But he certainly tries in this episode as well, right? He really tries to push it, tries to test himself, tries to see if he can break free of this, you know, mental block that he seems to have. And he's completely open to the idea of sacrificing himself, right? For Gon, so Gon can make an escape. Of course, that earns him a smack in the head or back of the head. That kind of, you know, plays out a really fun and wholesome you know, exchange between the two friends that even Nobunaga really gets quite a chuckle out of. You see that he legitimately likes these two, right? It's a blast for him to be around them. And how about that exchange, right? You've got Gon, who's really quite selfish himself, and he understands this about himself as well at this point, right? There's actually quite a telling moment later on, right? As you see his rosy cheeks, right? He's blushing a bit because he's happy to see Killua back to his normal self, right? There in that moment, you have an understanding, or us audience gets an understanding for Gon's own understanding, right? He understands that he's selfish, right? And he's being selfish, or he's continuing to be selfish, right? Because he feels that that's his job in this friendship, right? I'm allowed to be selfish. You're not. You're meant to stay cool, you know, calm and collected. And even inside, after he smacks Killua, there's that line of dialogue, right? He just straight up said, you know, don't talk about dying like it's nothing, right? So this, you know, Gon, yeah, he's simple, but you know, he's not that simple either. He's not, you know, a complete dummy. He's got an understanding for his role. He's got an understanding for his personality and the type of person he is. So coming out of Killua's mouth, you know, it really bothers him, right? That he's talking about dying like it's nothing. Yet he knows he does the same thing himself all the time, right? But again, as he told Killua, I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to do those things. But yeah, you know, once again, it's just an absolute treat to see this friendship flourish. And you know, I'm just so excited to see how it develops further, right? There's so much anime to get through. There's just so many episodes to go through. Yeah, this is special. It's special. I know I keep saying it, but it truly feels special. And it feels so authentic as well, right? There's fun moments, of course, but there's also fighting. There's frustrating moments for both of them. It has those moments of having those difficult talks, right? And then, you know, the moment they kind of escape at the end there, it's a great scene, isn't it? It really is. And, you know, I loved that one shot of Yorknew City. You know, to me, it felt like it's taking a bit of inspiration from the lighting of Midgar. But yeah, it's a fantastic episode. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And yeah, you know, there's some fantastic setup for the things to come in Yorknew City. Apparently, there's a new storm brewing at the heart of Yorknew City. So some enticing setup for the next one. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access to the next few episodes right now, maybe, you know, full opacity or timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. If you are interested, the links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 51. Until then, take it easy.